Right, folks, another edition of Zoom with Whom, and we welcome Chief Executive Officer of the PDC, Mr. Matt Porter. Matt, how are you?
I'm all right, Darren. Hope you and everyone at the JDC is too.
Thank you. Yeah, well, we're struggling on, been stuck in this little room for the last 11 weeks, but we're managing. I see you're tempting us there with that background. We're sort of waiting for this sort of thing to happen, but we've had some great news this week, Matt. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I mean, well, as you say, the background, with packed crowd at Rotterdam, which is touch and go for this year, but we've been there in the past. I just wanted to remind everybody what a great atmosphere darts is, because it's been a while now, hasn't it? 3 months coming up to since we last had an event. But yeah, the good news is that the World Match Play will take place on its scheduled date. So you've seen the announcement, I'm sure, July the 18th and 26th. We don't know where it's going to be yet. We don't know if we'll have a crowd yet. Probably, in balance of probability, not. But there's still a chance, so we're not going to rule it out. We're not going to write it off until the judgment's been passed. So as things stand, there's a couple of options. There's Blackpool or there's behind closed doors. But we do know July the 18th, the World Match Play will get underway.
Yeah. Well, I mean, everybody's working in a new way. This is the new norm, I suppose, at the moment. But for you, who in a company like yours, you probably spend most of your life in a car or in an aeroplane or some different continent, because you do work before the events even start, sussing out venues, whatever you do. What's life like being at home? Is married?
Well, yeah, this is the longest I've been at home in my adult life. I've got a 3-year-old boy, Henry, and it's been great spending more time with him. And
of course. Yeah.
Never felt so fortunate to have a garden, although the weather's not been great lately. We've had some nice days as well. So, you can't complain in the overall scheme of things. We're healthy and we've been able to get on. So it's it's a difficult and it's a testing time and different challenges for people on different levels. But touch wood, we're moving towards the end of it now, and we can start to look at some form of normality resuming.
So is the organisation being run from the spare room, the shed, the cellar, the back room?
Yeah, no, I'm actually in a room. One of the reasons I've got a virtual background on is I'm in a room that's not decorated, so you don't really want to see some plasterboard walls. But it's been a little sanctuary for me to go in and shut the door and try and keep the wheels turning. Our guys have been great. Everyone's obviously working from home, and we've been able to deliver a huge amount of digital content, which has kept fans engaged and kept people, just connected with darts in some way, shape, or form. And we're fortunate, of course, that it is a sport, as both yourselves and us have found out, is a sport that you can play remotely. And that's been a huge benefit to us during this period.
Yeah. So, from your end down to us, we've got such activity going on, and we are very fortunate. You're quite right. Can't just put a pool table in your living room, can you? So darts has certainly been more accessible in these times. Yeah. You touched on that then, the home tour. I mean, that came to a climax the end of last week. 101 players. It went on went on forever. It was lovely.
Well, 43 days, 101 players from 16 different countries. A hell of a feat of logistics and organisation. Really full credit to everybody. Not without its challenges. We had problems with technology and communication, but we got there in the end. And what was great was to see so many of the top players take it so seriously.
Yeah.
And use it as a way to try to get themselves back into a focus of proper matches, proper in inverted commas. Use it as not just something to do, but something with a means to an end. It's something to practice for. It's something to concentrate on. It was something to be competitive about. They enjoyed it. The feedback from guys like Gary Anderson, Glenn Durrant, Nathan Aspinall, Rob Cross, Peter Wright, Gerwyn Price. These are all top players who really threw themselves into it. And guys from around the world as well. You can't fault the effort of Kai Fan Lung playing at 5 o'clock in the morning in Hong Kong. Damon Heta doing the same in Australia. They didn't have to do that. We paid them, but it wasn't life-changing money. Yeah. They could have just said no, but actually, 101 of them said, yeah, do you know what? We'll give this a go. And Nathan Aspinall coming out on top, fair play to him, made his own trophy out of a dinner plate, which was hilarious. And, I think it was a great credit to everybody. It got us some really good press at a time when there wasn't a lot happening in the world of sport other than bad news.
That's right. And I'm assuming Dan Dawson's finished that chair or whatever room he was sat in. He'd been sat there for a long time.
Yeah, Dan was the real star of the show, to be fair, and a lad called Jamie Banks who works in our office and the team at Luke Productions. Everybody at the PDC got involved, but those three did all 43 nights. you know, which is a huge achievement. Now, whether you've got, well, you can't have a social life at the moment, but whatever you've got going on, still to do 43 nights with just a 5 or 6 day break at one point was a real mammoth effort. And, you know, I think Dan's probably gone to have a couple of Nurofen and a lie down now.
You talk about your team and all the elements that get put together. We've talked to a few guys. We've talked to Dave Allen, your media guy, head of media there with you. We've talked to referees, etc. But one thing maybe some people don't realise is as a whole organisation, what events you put on also get a little bit of acclaim there. You've been nominated yet again, I believe, in the Sports Business Awards for the World Championships, which we all love. But, you know, we don't realise how much recognition you're bringing our game to the rest of the world.
Yeah, it's really, you know, a really good honour for us that. It's 4 years running now that we've been nominated, and touch wood and fingers crossed we've won on other 3 years, either second or first. You know, best operations team, best live event, best sporting event experience, you know, different categories that we've come out on top in. And the World Championships, our flagship event, it's the event that people who don't follow darts know about. You know, let's not pretend that everybody follows everything religiously, but everybody seems to know the World Darts Championship at Christmas. So it's good that it's getting that wider recognition, and for the credibility of darts to be spoken about in the same breath as football, cricket, tennis, rugby, all the so-called mainstream sports. It's great.
ICT, cricket, all sorts, yeah. I mean,
absolutely. Yeah.
The big ones. Recognition absolutely for the game. And you talk about Christmas. I mean, obviously we're not going to have a problem then, are we? In December.
Well, you know what? We're not even thinking about Christmas. You know, we throughout this whole process, we've not done anything more than look 6 to 8 weeks in front. Because why would you do that when it's so unknown? You know, we don't know what the situation is going to be like in July. So to start second guessing what it's going to be like in October, November, December. I mean, if you look at the numbers, they're going the right way, but a lot of that might be to do with the weekends and are we going to have a second spike and all these great unknowns. Nobody knows, you know. Some people are in a better place to predict than others, but nobody can say they actually know what's going to happen. So let's not make wide-ranging negative or positive predictions about what's going to happen in 5 or 6 months' time. Let's wait and see. We've got contingencies in place, and at the right time we'll announce them, but let's hope we can get as many events played as possible.
Sensible planning. That's it. So with regards to you, obviously being in your world, so have you become an amazing cook? Are you into gardening now? I mean, what's Matt Porter do? What does Matt Porter do to chill out? Chill out.
I don't really have much time to chill out. I did start doing some garden stuff. We had that nice weather in early April time, didn't we? And did a bit of clearing in the garden then. That sort of lasted a while. Queued for 17 hours at B&Q for a hedge trimmer, and then thought, not sure she's having to get out of this.
Any excuse just to get out, really. I think that was. I think we've all tried that.
And then, I mean, my cooking's not bad. My parenting skills, I'd like to think, have got better. I think probably completed Netflix like the rest of the country. Yeah. But to be honest with you, you know, apart from that, it's been pretty much life as normal. You know, just the lack of travelling and events. We're still working. We're doing a huge amount of work. You know, we've all discovered the wonders of Zoom, like this call now. Must have been invented by somebody a few years ago who sat there going, "I'll tell you what, I've got this good idea here. One day it's going to make me a lot of money." And for years, nobody even knew what it was. And then all of a sudden, the world came to a stop, and he's probably the 4th richest person in the world now, sat in some Silicon Valley, paradise house or something like that, worth $47 billion. But good luck to him, because he's helped keep the world going. It's been, and that you can't take away from the hardship and the suffering that a lot of people have suffered. You know, there is no taking away from that. But in life, you have to try and be positive. And there have been positives that people can take from it. You know, communities have come together, families have come together, people have learned new skills, people have rediscovered old skills, you know. And I think when we come out of this, there will be different things that we do that make us more efficient and change the way that we live our lives. You know, are we going to get on trains and go to meetings for half an hour, or are we just going to do this sort of thing and have these kind of chats? You know, are we still going to make as many car journeys as we did? You know, I think people are creatures of habit, and 95% of what we do will be restored to what it was like before. But I think there will be 5% of our activity in our day-to-day lives that actually we change for the better with what we do going forward. And you know, that's a great opportunity for someone there's a quote going around. I think it was attributed originally to Winston Churchill, which was "Never waste a good crisis." You know, and I think there's a lot to be said for that.
Yeah, you're right. A lot of people have talked to sort of, you know, well, looked at it as a bit of a challenge, or they've taken it as an experience. I've never spoken to my mother so much on virtual platforms, you know. So the elderly are interacting a lot more with social media, etc., and showing that technology is a really positive thing.
Yeah, it can be, can't it? And you know, social media is obviously one of those love it or hate it forums, but it can be a force for good. And you know, I think it's been important to stay connected. It's something that we've tried to do with the PDC, just make sure that people are connected all the time to darts. You know, whether it's the home tour, whether it's our rewinds and our watch-alongs, you know, interviews with players, and just different things to remind people that there are good times coming again, and there are things to look forward to, and we just have to learn from the experiences that we're going through at the moment. Obviously, we hope they never happen again, but if they do, we'll be better prepared.
Yeah, because I mean, you're obviously, you've got one eye on every nation you're involved with, aren't you? It's not just looking at the UK and planning what you're going to do at the end of your road. You're looking at over the whole globe, really.
You know, and you hear different things. You know, it seems ironically that Australia and New Zealand, where we had events scheduled for August, which we've cancelled, you know, perhaps could have taken place, but with all the logistical planning and travelling and everything like that, it wouldn't have been practical. But you know, other countries are obviously going through it at different strengths and different speeds. So there's lots of planning. Like the image behind me is Rotterdam Premier League. Well, their restrictions are due to lift on the 1st of September, and we're supposed to be there on the 9th and 10th of September. Very tight, you know. Same in Berlin. We're supposed to be there on the 3rd. So will we get there in time? Will people still want to go? All these things are unknowns, and that's why we're not making any long-range predictions, because we'll see closer to time how the rules are and how the public opinion and the mood is, whether anything can happen or not.
Yeah, well, like I'm sure people see on the TV, you get used to sort of looking at regular faces. You know, security or people that build the stage. You don't just all rock up and get on a train or an airplane and fly over the night before. I mean, it's a huge thing, isn't it?
Yeah, a huge amount of planning that goes into it, and that's where we have to be nimble and flexible and creative to try to make sure that, you know, if we do have to do things like the World Match Play behind closed doors, that it's still a good viewer experience. Yeah. You know, how we're not just going to put two blokes on a freestanding board playing darts and call it the World Match Play. You know, it will have to be as good as it can be without a crowd, and the crowd is such a huge aspect of darts that it will be a big challenge.
Well, I'm sure I speak for most. I'll take anything at the minute, anything to watch. But Matt, appreciate you're very busy. We've called you on a probably a busy Monday for you after all this. Great to hear about the match play. Great to see that we've got something to watch constantly and keeping us ready for when this thing is over. Can't wait for it. Can't wait for it.
My pleasure, Darren. I think what you guys and, you know, yourself and Steve and everyone at the JDC have done with JDC Virtual to keep all the stars of the future engaged with the game and keep them practicing, because you can't fall out of practice. You know, you've got to stick with it, kids, however hard it might be. That's the only way you're going to be the next Michael Van Gerwen or Nathan Aspinall, is to just keep plugging away at that practice board. So, you know, just keep at it, and before long you'll be doing what you want to be doing all over again.
Yeah, and then getting paid by you. That'd be great. Right.
That's what we want. Well, listen, we're more than happy. If you throw them darts in the right place, we've got some big checks for you. It's as simple as that.
Oh, I wished I could play. Matt, thank you very much. All the best to you and your family. Thank you.
Very well, Darren. Take care, everyone.